What's up, guys? We are live from vacation, as you can see, and the Stanley Cup Finals have been finally announced. So we have the reigning Stanley Cup champions between the Tampa Bay Lightning, of course, being in their third consecutive Stanley Cup Final.
Oh, the camera's falling, boys.
Oh, it's falling. Okay.
Technical difficulties. Technical
Versus
difficulties.
Colorado Avalanche, who haven't been in the Stanley Cup Finals since 2001. So this is an interesting matchup because Colorado were the favorites to win the Stanley Cup, but there was a lot of people saying that, hey man, we think Tampa Bay could three-peat this season. And even though they lost Goudreau, Coleman, and Gord on that third line, bring in guys like Hagel, Perry, and having Nick Paul as well, and Belmar as as bottom six players, seems like nothing has really changed because this team has found a way to yet again make the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is fantastic. We don't know what you guys are saying in the comments right now, but we see
I could pull it
Charles.
up. Yeah, saying here I got it. Here, let's go Lightning. You know.
I think what's interesting too about Tampa Bay, kind of like what Chris mentioned. A lot of people had them in the playoffs. A lot of people didn't see them as a team that was going to three-peat. I think I was one of those guys, especially at the beginning of the playoffs, that doubted Tampa Bay. And I think the reason why is because when you win a cup 2 years in a row, it's hard to kind of just go out there and be like, oh, they're going to three-peat again. It's a difficult task. It's a difficult opportunity. And I think Tampa Bay's played fantastic hockey. And I think in this series too against the Rangers and now coming up against Colorado in the Stanley Cup final, it's going to be a really interesting test for Tampa Bay. And I think it goes to show you that this team, even though they've lost key pieces from last year, like they lost Gord, right, and they lost a bunch of other guys as well, it goes to show you that they still were able to find ways to make it to the Stanley Cup final anyways. I think it's credit to Vasilevsky, it's credit to how good Tampa Bay is, and it's credit to John Cooper, the coach, who's done a fantastic job with this group.
And there's no before you continue, guys. There's one thing that people cannot say is that the Tampa Bay Lightning are undeserving to make it to this finals because there's no COVID rules this time. There's no limited regular season. They got here fair and square. There's no bubble going on. There's nothing that held them back this year.
Exactly.
They faced a very competitive and a lot better looking team in Toronto in the first round, going to 7 games where they won. They faced the Florida Panthers, who were actually favorites at one point to be the Stanley Cup winners, or at least to make the Stanley Cup Finals because they were the best team. They were the President's Trophy winners. They beat them in 4 games. And you face the Rangers, a very resilient team, a very good team, a team that has progressed very well from back in 2017 when they announced that they were going to be a rebuilding team. And look how far they've gone this year. So, I mean, Tampa Bay has been deserving to be in this finals.
And I think not only has Tampa Bay been deserving, but I think Colorado's been deserving just as much too. They went through Nashville like it was nothing. They handled St. Louis pretty handedly as well, and they swept the Oilers. And I think that says a lot, and it compliments a lot to how good Colorado is. Chris, I don't know if you have any thoughts on both series, and what's your thoughts going into this next round?
Well, when it comes to the Tampa Bay Lightning, I mentioned it when we did the video about Tampa and the New York Rangers. I think even though they lost Yanni Gourde and Coleman and who else am I missing on that fourth line?
Tyler Johnson.
Tyler Johnson.
Yeah,
Like
Johnson's the next thought.
they kind of like recreated that kind of like depth with the guys that they got with Hagel and Nick Paul and signing Corey Perry. And it's like I said, same coach, the same core, same goalie. Essentially, it's the same recipe, just with
Same
a little bit
defense
of
too. You have
different
McDonough,
spices.
Sergachev, Edmund,
So I,
Chernak. You know,
I never doubted the team. That I think Florida was slightly better. Yeah, I mean, when you have Claude Giroux on a team that was already kind of stacked. I mean, obviously they were going to be the favorite ones. But when I did have the New York Rangers making the Stanley Cup Finals. I think Igor Shesterkin played amazing, and I
even in Game 6 in the loss, against Tampa Bay where they got eliminated, he played a fantastic game again. It just unfortunate the team in front of him did not show up.
I wanna kind of say some stats here for the Tampa Bay series. So Vasilevsky versus the Rangers, was 4-2-0 with a 923 save percentage. So fantastic numbers for him.
Yeah.
Nikita Kucherov throughout the playoffs, he's got 23 points in 17 games, 7 goals, 16 assists. Steven Stamkos, who scored both goals for the Lightning tonight in their win to send them to the Stanley Cup Final, 9 goals, 6 assists, 15 points in 17 games for him. And then obviously you've got Palat, 8 goals, 7 assists, 15 points in 17 games. And you have Hedman, 2 goals, 12 assists, 14 points in 17 games. One thing to note, they did most of this series without Braden Point. In fact,
Yeah.
I don't think he played a single minute of the Florida series or the Rangers series. And so the fact of the matter is, Tampa Bay, without one of their best players in the lineup,
their top line centerman,
he's basically essentially coming, arguably should be back for game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. So Tampa Bay receives a boost by having Braden Point potentially being back, and I think it's gonna be really interesting to see what this series brings, because Colorado's actually got some issues going into the Stanley Cup Final. Nazem Kadri may not play. There's rumors that he may miss the rest of the playoffs, and so that's going to be a big loss for them. And another thing that's really interesting is, yes, Francouz went 4-0 against the Edmonton Oilers, but Darcy Kemper got injured in Game 1 against the Edmonton Oilers. Who was going to get the start in Game 1? Jared Bednar has yet to confirm that as well. I believe it's going to be Pavel Francouz. I know you said you also believe it might be Francouz.
Yeah, he's been playing great lately. I don't see why they would. I mean, playing great. I mean, he's been playing okay.
He's been deserving of the starting role. We've seen Francouz play very good hockey in the past. He's been dealing with injuries. He's been healthy this season, and I think he came during the second half of the regular season.
Yeah.
And he's a fantastic goalie. I think he's a very underlooked and a very underappreciated goalie. And I always saw that the Colorado tandem was always 1A, 1B with Kemper. Even with Grubauer at times, I would think that as well. And with Kemper being injured, do you want to play a guy that's dealing with let's say, a minor injury? You don't know the extent of his injury, but if he is capable of playing the next round, it's not that serious unless he just wants to play through a serious injury, because it is the playoffs, it is the finals. But Francouz did and was a big key factor in why they beat the Edmonton Oilers. And don't forget, you're facing a team with Connor McDavid, arguably the best player in the world, with his partner in crime, Leon Draisaitl. And McDavid was phenomenal in these playoffs. So Francouz being able to sweep the Edmonton Oilers, obviously he had a good team in front of him and they played very well. And obviously you have to give credit to Lekkonen's line with Mikko Rantanen, and I forgot the other guy that's playing with him.
Landeskog, Rantanen, and I think, well, it's not Lekkonen. It's not Kadri. It's is it Newhook?
Something like that. But everyone was praising Lekkonen's performance and his line in this round against
Kadri,
the Edmonton Oilers. And another note is that Lekkonen sent his team once again to the Stanley Cup Finals, like he did with the Montreal Canadiens last year.
Well, and what's interesting about Artturi
in overtime.
What's interesting about Artturi Lehkonen, and you bring that up. So I'm just going to run through the stats really quickly for Colorado players a little bit. Francouz went 4-0, 9-11 save percentage, 1 shutout during the series. McKinnon, 11 goals, 7 assists, 18 points in 14 playoff games. Makar, 5 goals, 17 assists, 22 points in 14 playoff games. Landeskog, 8 goals, 9 assists, 17 points in 14 games. Rantanen, 5 goals, 12 assists, 17 points in 14 games. Artturi Lehkonen has 6 goals, 5 assists, 11 points. But fun fact about Artturi Lehkonen, 6 of those 11 points have come in the Edmonton series. So we talk about Pavel Francouz being a big part of the reason why the Avalanche won that series. Artturi Lehkonen was a huge part of the reason why they won that series. 6 points, a couple of game winners as well for him. Kind of brought back what Habs fans knew about Artturi Lehkonen, is that this guy's a playoff performer and he's going to give you a chance to, win. And again, Lehkonen, like Chris said, scored the overtime winner against Vegas last year to send Montreal to the Cup final, and now he did it again.
And there's a lot of praise for Lehkonen. When you have Nathan McKinnon saying that he would trade 10 first-round picks for a guy like Artturi Lehkonen, there's a lot of value there.
Exactly.
And, a lot of Habs fans are going to say, we lost this deal now. Lekkonen's in the finals. There's an opportunity for him to win the Stanley Cup. Well, I've always known, as a Montrealer watching the Montreal Canadiens often, since day one that liking him as a very special, underrated player, a guy who could score clutch goals but had a hard time finishing, but was very, very good on the
Yeah.
penalty kill and a very good shutdown player on the third line or on the fourth line. I mean, at the beginning of his career. So, I mean, I think he's going to be very crucial. His lines will be very crucial in the finals versus Tampa Bay. Look, they both have fantastic cores. It all comes down to, I would say, the bottom six. And obviously, when you have to compare goaltending, obviously Vasilevsky is far superior than Frank Kutz. But right now, Frank Kutz is hot. Anything could happen, and I'm not gonna take that away from him.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm gonna go straight into my prediction now. I think Colorado takes this in six, and I'll explain why.
Well,
Uh, I think they did a great job shutting down the two best players in the world. Okay, so Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, arguably, well, I mean, they are the best top two players offensively, and they've managed to shut them down and play really great defense. And listen, against no disrespect to Steven Stamkos, Kucherov, or Braden Point if he does come back, but they're no Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. So I mean, besides the goaltending situation, I think Colorado's gonna have somewhat of a you know easier time on defense. So I see this game going in six, and they're well deserving of the cup. It's been a while that that they've been trying to get it. And Tampa Bay, listen, when you're there back to back and again, it's kind of tough. I think the last time that this happened was, correct me if I'm wrong, but it might be the Islanders with Mike Bossy when a team went three in a row and actually
Well,
won.
it's the first time in the best of seven series format that this has ever happened since 1987. So it's the first time ever, basically in the modern era, that this has ever happened. So I
Yeah,
think you might be right that the last time might have been the Islanders, but in terms of the modern era, it's the first time ever that this has happened.
first time ever. So
So
like I'm not listen. I'm not saying that they're not capable of it. I mean, like, listen, we could be witnessing history. I mean, we already are witnessing history, and it'd be cool if Pat Maroon gets his fourth,
that'd be
championship
crazy.
ring back to back to
St.
back to
Louis,
back.
Tampa,
It's
Tampa,
insane.
Tampa.
But
Boy.
I do think that defensively, I'm gonna say it again, and I said it last time too, and everybody hated me on that one, but it came out being true. So I think Nathan McKinnon and Kale McCarr and that whole like top like line is just so good defensively and so great at scoring. Sure, Vasilevsky's is a way better goaltending than Mike Smith. And who else did they faced? Huso. So obviously they're gonna have a harder time
Well,
scoring
yeah.
goals.
I mean, all I'm gonna say is,
But
all I'm gonna say is that, in terms of Tampa Bay's path, they had it way harder, like I was saying before. And in terms of Colorado, no disrespect, they did face Nashville without Saros, and Saros is a very key part to their success. And then they faced St. Louis, who didn't have Krug for a good chunk of that series, and Bennington went down, and he was very, very hot, and Huso was coming in,
Yeah,
not as uh, I would say stable in terms of a
but but
goaltender.
we're talking about Tampa Bay's depth, how great they are. But like, listen, Colorado's got some really great depth too. Like they've got some great players that they added. From the Ducks, man. It's
Josh
late at night.
Manson,
John
Josh Manson.
Manson.
he's been
No,
a great
great
ad on
ads.
defense.
Great ads. Like insane. And Kale McCarr's playing great.
Well, Kale
Uh,
McCarr, like people are saying, and like Wayne Gretzky said, is very, very comparable to Bobby Orr. He's probably the modern day Bobby Orr because he's so good defensively and offensively. He has such a good two-way style of playing, and he's so good at it. And like my prediction is, and I know people are gonna be like, "Oh, come on, really?" I say Tampa takes it in seven because championship pedigree wins you Stanley Cups and it enables you to basically uh, beat teams. We've seen it with Tampa Bay, especially in this playoffs, from round one to the Stanley Cup Finals, and also because of the talent,
I
because of
I'm
the
I'm
core,
I'm gonna be
everything
honest
they
here.
have. They have what it takes to win another Stanley Cup, and I do think, in my eyes, when I look at Tampa Bay, they are a modern day dynasty.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think the only way that, because I find Colorado's offense is, honestly, I think all four lines are really good. I think they could score on every single line, and they could stop. The fourth line, their fourth line could probably stop. Tampa's first. I think the whole team is solid all around. Their defense is honestly really good. The only iffy part on that team is the goaltending, and I find that's the only thing that Tampa really has that's you know a clear like indication of well, not indication, but a clear like thing like, oh, okay, yeah, they have the better goalie, obviously. So I think if Vasilevsky's on his game and he plays insanely well, we've seen goalies take series before, and it could happen. But
One,
I feel like if he plays, somewhat not at the capability that he is, like at 100%, like all-star MVP goaltending that he is, and he slips up just for a bit, I think Colorado takes it. Like there's no space for any of these teams to mess up, and the only advantage that Tampa Bay has is honestly the goaltending, because everything
well,
else, I think Colorado's a better constructed team.
one thing I'm going to say is this too, and you bring up a good point in terms of goaltending and stuff. Tampa Bay hasn't played a weak goaltender in these playoffs. If you look at the teams that they played against, right? They played against the Toronto Maple Leafs. They had Jack Campbell, who was fantastic in that series. They then play against
And
the
it was,
Florida.
mind you, and I
Yeah.
think he was better
That's
than
it. He
Vasilevsky
was
in
better
that
than
series.
Vasilevsky in that series. Then he goes and plays against Florida. He plays against Bobrovsky. Again, Bobrovsky, great goaltender, wasn't the reason for why Florida lost.
He was actually stable this time. He
That's
did not
it.
choke.
And now they come up against the Rangers in Igor Shesterkin, who was also fantastic. And I think that the problem with this series, and I think one of the reasons why I think, and I'm going to agree with Chris in this situation, I think Tampa takes it. And the reason
And
why
how
I
many
think
games?
in 7, and the reason why I think Tampa takes it in 7 is because, like Chris said, right, winning pedigree. But I just think that Tampa's going to have an easier time in terms of being able to put the puck in the net. You look at the series that they've played against, and you watch, and I named out some of the stats, right? The only point of game player for Tampa Bay is Nikita Kucherov. And if you look at the point of game players for Colorado, there's a lot. But you have to look at the goaltending you have to look at the teams that they've played, right? Tampa have played a lot more harder and competitive teams, and have played teams that have given them a good run for their money. In terms of Colorado, apart from St. Louis, there wasn't a close series, right? And so in that case, Colorado's it's gonna be their first real challenge. It's gonna be their first real test in this series. And the question is, we've seen Colorado in past years choke. We saw against Vegas how much they choked, and so there's definitely concerns there in terms of Colorado. Now, obviously this season, if you look at Colorado, they're the best team on paper. I think they're the best team in the league on paper as well. I think they've got the best offense, the best defense, and so on. But you look at Tampa Bay, and you can't bet against Tampa Bay. Even if you want to bet against Tampa Bay, even if that's what you want to do, you can't. You just can't. And for me, I'm going to take the safe bet, because I think it's just easier to take the safe bet in this case. Because
We all want to see a new champion. I think every year we want to see a new champion. Obviously, we would love Colorado to win the Stanley Cup, but when you just look at the stats, you just look at what they've gone through. You just look at the whole picture in general. I just have to go with Tampa, and that's why Luca goes with Tampa, and obviously Chris explained his reasoning why he goes with Colorado. But guys, we've reached the finals. This is our final matchup video. We hope that you guys liked everything from round 1 up into the finals. We want to hear your predictions in the comment section below. Obviously, we've been wrong a couple of times. That's the beauty of prediction videos. And sometimes we also made mistakes in terms of our claims, but we all learn from that, and I hope you guys understand that. But don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and we have a lot of content for the off season in terms of rumors, the draft, and the free agency. So guys, stick with us for that. It's going to be a very interesting summer, but until then, let's enjoy the Stanley Cup Finals. Good luck to the Colorado Avalanche, and good luck to the Tampa Bay Lightning. May the best team win. Anyways, guys, until the next episode when we're back in Montreal.